Hello everyone, welcome to the Planned Parenthood Columbia-Willamette 2023 Annual Luncheon presented by the Jordan Schnitzer of the Harold and Arlene Schnitzer Care Foundation. We thank you. We're so excited to be connected with you live in studio this afternoon. My name is Ann Udall. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm proud to serve as the President and CEO of PPCW. All land is Indigenous land. We acknowledge that PPCW's 7 health centers are on the traditional land of the Chinook, Clackamas, Kalapuya, Molalla, Atfaluti peoples. PPCW's wider service region also includes the traditional land of dozens of other tribes and includes the Warm Springs, Umatilla, the Grand Ronde, the Siletz, the Burns Paiute, the Klamath, and Cowlitz reservations. Our work in Ontario, Oregon includes the traditional land of the Cayuse, the Umatilla, and the Walla Walla peoples. PPCW is committed to continuing to work with Indigenous communities throughout Oregon and Washington in promoting access to healthcare and education. This week should have marked the 50th anniversary of Roe v. Wade, the 1973 U.S. Supreme Court decision that guaranteed abortion rights nationwide. Instead, it's been 6 months since the Supreme Court made it possible for state legislatures to take away your fundamental constitutional right to an abortion. The impact was immediate and continues today, wreaking havoc on the health and well-being of millions of people across the country. But we are Planned Parenthood, and we don't back down ever. In the face of unrelenting challenges, PPCW has broadened and expanded our services. And yes, it's true, we are going to be opening a newly remodeled, beautiful health center in Ontario very soon. PPCW's success stories happen because of all of you. You make this work possible. Now, more than ever, I do want to thank our incredible staff who in 2022 truly exemplified the spirit of care no matter what. They did not allow the countless threats to our ability to provide care or the ups and downs of the continuing COVID-19 pandemic to ever stop them from showing up for our patients. I dedicate this luncheon to the front and back office health center staff, to clinicians, nurses, administrative staff, and all of you who show up day in and day out to deliver high-quality sexual and reproductive health care to every single person who walks through our doors. And to our amazing educators who empower young people with essential tools and knowledge through our education programs. This year's luncheon is sure to be unlike any other we've had before. Over the next hour, we're going to travel from Vancouver to Ontario, Benton to Salem, and lots of places in between. We'll connect with like-minded people, including Texan and Gen Z firebrand Olivia Julianna, as well as those from across the region who, like you, believe that controlling your own body and future shouldn't be up for debate. PPCW has changed the lives of countless people since we opened our doors in 1963, 60 years ago. Our mission is to provide, promote, and protect high-quality, compassionate, sexual and reproductive health care and affirming accurate sex education. That's our mission today, and it will be our mission tomorrow. We are not going anywhere, no matter what. The time to fight like hell is now. And that's exactly what PPCW is doing. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road.
Hi, I'm Jordan Schnitzer, and I'm president of the Harold and Arlene Schnitzer Care Foundation and the Jordan Schnitzer Family Foundation. And we are honored to be the presenting sponsor of Planned Parenthood's major fundraising event. This is a cause that we believe in firmly. There's a terrible injustice for those who aren't financially able to not have options. with what has happened in this country in the last 12 months, I think it heightens the importance and responsibility for those of us that are supportive of choice to stand up and contribute so that no one, no matter what state they're in, is denied the chance to make decisions that are right for them and their family.
I don't think the fight for reproductive healthcare access is over until every single person in this country has access to the same resources. And I think remembering that is the key to sustaining energy in the movement. My name is Olivia Julianna. I am 20 years old and I am from Houston, Texas. I have been in the fight for reproductive rights, honestly, since my 12th birthday. I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I was told that my symptoms were my fault, that I wasn't regulating myself well enough at 12 years old for a disease that I had never heard of. By 14, I had ultrasounds and blood work, and just about any other test or poke or prod you could think of. And it always left me with this very strong feeling of, there's something wrong here. The reproductive healthcare system is inherently flawed. And I had also grown up in a very anti-abortion household. And when I entered high school, I really started to form my own strong opinions on what it meant to be pro-choice and what it meant to be pro-abortion and pro-bodily autonomy. I didn't get really involved with activism work around reproductive health care until after Texas had passed Senate Bill 8. To see such blatant government overreach was a very terrifying and chilling moment when the Supreme Court refused to hear the case against SB 8. I knew that it was coming.
The court overturned nearly 50 years of abortion precedents in a ruling that was a first. Never before has the court granted and then taken away a widely recognized constitutional right.
When I heard about the Dobbs decision, I knew the world had changed. It was a sea change.
Nothing prepared me for that physical and emotional feeling of waking up and seeing that it had happened.
The fact it happened is just fundamentally at its core wrong, just wrong.
It just feels so personal and so unfair that this very vocal minority is getting to say your value is in your ability to reproduce and just do that.
The opinion itself was insulting, and then the idea that they would interact with my ability to counsel patients, it's just a violation of human rights to me.
I was in high school before Roe versus Wade, and I know how hard it is when that right is not there, when that freedom is not there. To me, Oregon is a beacon for the rest of the country. We have been able to beat back attempts to restrict reproductive freedom.
We've made it so that people now can actually afford it, and the access does mean affordability, does mean quality of care.
Planned Parenthood is critical to making sure Oregonians from across the state have the health care they need. We wouldn't be the state we are without Planned Parenthood.
We're a beacon of hope. We're going to be here. We're not going anywhere.
If Roe hadn't been overturned, we would not have the opportunity that we have now to really make abortion and healthcare and intersectionality the bigger cornerstone of Planned Parenthood. I feel like it's a closing of an era and the hope for a new era.
It is in our history to fight like hell for our freedom and fight for them like those who came before us. What gives me hope, honestly, is history. The fights that I'm facing now, they're not unprecedented. If they've already been overcome, there is a possibility for us to do it again.
Olivia Julianna is right here at this
We're hearing from a teenager from Southeast Texas who helped crash a controversial website.
18-year-old activist and TikToker Olivia Julianna rallied her more than 100,000 followers to crash ProLifeWhistleblower.com, created after the passage of Senate Bill 8.
It allowed anyone to anonymously report abortions.
I use my social media presence to encourage my followers and other people to send in tips to this tip line. Send in a fake tip so the website crashes.
And it did.
This 18-year-old is pretty clear about how she feels. She's garnered millions of views as a result.
Following the fall of the pro-life whistleblower website, I had the displeasure of watching Congressman Matt Gaetz give a very misogynistic, disgusting description of what he considered to be an abortion rights activist. And I responded.
Tonight, a Houston teen and pro-choice advocate is in the national spotlight after she stood up to a Republican congressman from Florida.
Her response to those comments from Gaetz: I'm actually 5'11", 6'4" in heels. I wear them so the small men like you are reminded of your place.
He did not like that.
He took aim at the 19-year-old, tweeting out her photo to 1.4 million followers.
It was such an insane moment because I was just this kid living in Texas, and now I was going toe-to-toe with the U.S. congressman.
Olivia Julianna did not back down.
I know this Republican politician did not just come for me on Twitter. Oh, but guess what, Maddie? Guess what, Maddie? I'm not the one. You want to rumble? We can rumble, bitch.
That verbal attack has helped raise millions of dollars for women's reproductive care.
Within a week, we raised $2.3 million for abortion funds across the country. It was very surreal, but I'm very grateful because I think that the story gave a lot of people hope. A year that had been really, really dark, people saw this teenager was able to do things that will literally help provide people with abortion care. I try to do as much as I can with the resources that I have.
Matt Gaetz got his ass kicked by a queer Latin community college student. Regardless of your position of power, you can make a difference.
Freedom of speech is a constitutional right, but so is my right to abortion. These are our rights, and you're not going to take them away.
Welcome to Planned Parenthood Columbia Willamette's 2023 virtual luncheon. As you just saw, I'm Olivia Julianna. I use she, her, aya pronouns, and I'm one of your co-hosts and today's featured speaker. I'm honored to be here with y'all today and introduce you to my co-host, Erica.
Hey everyone, my name's Erica Holz. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the assistant manager at the Northeast Portland Health Center. Over the next hour, we're going to join you on a trip across Oregon and Southwest Washington to learn more about the very real issues facing our communities.
And we'll also be showing you how PPCW and supporters like you are fighting like hell to provide, promote, and protect access to sexual and reproductive health care, not just for patients from our region, but for patients from all across the country.
But first, we need your help. Two generous, visionary sponsors, Samantha Richardson and Christine and David Vernier, have come together to match all donations made in support of this year's luncheon up to $100,000. That match means your gift will go twice as far for this critical work. We've already raised $370,000, but to maximize this opportunity, we need to raise another $100,000 starting right now. Can you help us do it?
We are counting on you to dig deep and make a personally significant gift today. We'll keep you updated on progress toward our goal throughout the event. But to get everyone warmed up, can we get $15,000 in donations by the time that we're back on your screens? Erica, do you think they're up for the challenge?
I think they're up for it.
I think they're up for it too. Remember, text Fight Like Hell to 44321 to receive the link to donate, or click the donate button on the streaming page.
Now it's time to get back to the show. Every day, Planned Parenthood Columbia Willamette provides essential care for our patients. While other states are eroding reproductive health care, PPCW has been able to expand access to care throughout our region. And you'll learn more about how later on in the program. Next, let's head to Portland and Central Oregon and learn from my colleagues about how PPCW is a haven to those who aren't able to access reproductive health care in their own communities. See you soon.
Abortion access is not limited to the laws in the state that you live in. It is still very much a class issue. It can be very difficult to navigate healthcare in this country, and organizations like Planned Parenthood are an incredible resource.
Planned Parenthood says it's actually already seen that increase of people traveling to Oregon from other states with abortion bans, and they do add they're prepared for much more.
We've been taking steps for years in preparation for restrictions coming. We didn't expect, I think, this dramatic of a change quite this quickly, but the first thought is we're ready for this.
Our current health centers have really looked at their schedules and figured out how can we create more capacity in the hours that we are providing care now. How can we prioritize medication abortion?
Medical abortions are 70% of the abortions in the state of Oregon. And so being able to have access to someone on video is something that we now can provide very easily to anybody in the state.
Telemedicine is just this amazing opportunity to be able to see a patient in their own personal space with their chosen support people. They don't need transportation, but they can have different kinds of support at home.
There's so much work to be done outside of abortion, and we play a huge role in that.
What's happening in this country around gender-affirming care and the kind of hate and anger you're seeing in a state like Texas or Florida, Oregon is also a haven.
We have patients actually moving from other states specifically coming to Oregon because they know they can access care here that they can't access in other states. And that includes services that we provide at PPCW, like hormone therapy, and we provide those services outside of the Portland area, in Bend, in Salem, and also via telemedicine.
We are seeing patients at levels we've never seen before.
We've recently completed a long, very important expansion at our Northeast Health Center where we're able to remodel a space to really be a focused procedural space.
We have been working in a building that is, large. It has the space that we need, but it's not configured in a way that's conducive to the kind of flow that we need.
What's really exciting about it is that it's just a surgical clinic for abortion care, and we have never really had that.
Several times a day, we're always like, in the new space, it'll be like this, and it'll be like this.
They listen to what we have to say and what we need, even with just what kind of sink, what kind of faucet, all those little things that actually really count. They wanted to hear our input. They want to make this functional for us.
We've been able to increase the gestational age, also our anesthesia options, which is really important for patient experience so that they have the options that they really want.
I think that because the staff will also feel such ownership and pride over this space, they are going to be able to take what they do to the next level.
I've been going to Planned Parenthood locations since I was a teenager. Planned Parenthood has been the one facility that has been always providing, as a queer person, caring, affirming care that has never made me feel judged or made me feel like I have something that I should be hiding from my provider. I knew that I wanted to work at Planned Parenthood.
Came in with tenacity and passion for healthcare and what we do at Planned Parenthood and abortion care and trans care that we do. I've been at PPCW for 15 years. The beauty about working here is that each new wave of staff that come in really make meaningful connections.
We have built in this kind of responsibility to care for people. I feel so at home here.
I'm surprised how often patients say, "You're so nice." They're surprised. That's why we do this every day. It's just some of the most fulfilling work you can do.
Geography is a huge issue in the state of Oregon. How do people in these very large communities that aren't near big urban centers get health care?
I grew up in Bend, so kind of watched it grow throughout the years. Some of the other health centers within our affiliate, they have other health centers close by. So I feel like their community can kind of have multiple choices of where they go. Also availability is different because they have multiple health centers in a smaller area. And we just don't have that here.
There's Bend, but there is the surrounding area that Bend serves. So Lapine, Prineville, Edmond, Sisters, Warm Springs, Madras, even out to Burns. So a lot more than just this town of Bend. A lot of times Planned Parenthood is like a one-stop for people. They go there and this is the one window they have to get health care.
our communities have less resources, even resources when it comes to like public transportation. We have really extreme winters and really, really hot summers, things that can affect walking or biking or being able to make it into a clinic. But usually if someone has a lot of extra barriers, we'll find a way to make it work.
Working for Planned Parenthood in general, you really just learn to meet people where they are. The Patient Navigation Program was created by the Planned Parenthood Federation of America in preparation for the overturn of Roe v. Wade. People don't have the option to not travel in a vast majority of the country, and we can help bridge the gap for patients that have to travel. My day as patient navigator might be booking hotel rooms or getting people gift cards, talking them through what to expect during their procedure, and just making sure they have everything they need to get to their appointment. We primarily are seeing patients from Idaho.
Idaho losing access, not only is that an issue for people in Idaho, it is also an issue for people in Eastern Oregon. You know, our closest health center is Bend.
The Bend Planned Parenthood location typically sees around 50 abortion patients per month. Based on what they're seeing in Texas, they're preparing for that number to increase by almost 230%.
Today, for example, we did surgical abortions and 6 of the 7 were from Idaho. I think on average, most of our people from Idaho are driving about 5 hours one way. One patient in particular, I still think about her like every day. She was a Spanish-speaking patient, and I'm bilingual as well. Spanish is my first language. So I was helping advocate for her, and she had told me she was a single mom. She had 2 sons, and she found someone to help translate for her and found a taxi driver that was willing to drive her from Idaho to Bend. Her cab ride was, I think, $1,200. Thankfully, we had a new abortion navigator and we were able to help find some funding for her to help kind of offset some of the expenses of traveling, plus being like uninsured, and we were able to sign up for a funding program that paid for her abortion too. Things like that that make the person with so much more on their plate being able to have the same amount of access or closer to the same amount of access. That's something that I've been really proud of PPCW for doing.
People really, they don't even know that there's assistance out there. At PPCW, we have an internal fund that we are able to use for anyone getting any type of medical service. I also use a couple of funds that are from the PPFA that can help people more with travel costs. But we're so lucky in Oregon that we have all these local community organizations that are just really here to help.
Care Oregon and Planned Parenthood Columbia-Willamette have worked together for decades. And we really work to strengthen the services that they provide and their ability to show up for the community. For us, it's more than just any access. It's really about meaningful access. It's really important that the providers we're working with use trauma-informed and culturally relevant practices. Planned Parenthood really is a great example of how providers can make their services more accessible and really meet people where they're at.
The desperation is so overwhelming that they're calling every Planned Parenthood that they can find on Google, just seeing who can help them. Oregon is the safest state right now to have abortion care. And so I think a lot of people are just thinking, well, who's gonna make this the easiest for me? I always sort of make it a joke, like, I'm gonna ask you what you need, and if you don't know, or if you need everything, like, that's cool. I'm just gonna help with whatever you need. Also always try to tell people, like, I'm really sorry that you can't just do this at home. And I'm not apologizing that they have to have an abortion. I'm apologizing that their state has made it impossible to get one at home.
When I think about how Roe v. Wade has affected our practice here in Oregon, there's one patient that particularly comes to mind. It was a patient who traveled here from Mississippi for a medication abortion. She chose Portland because she didn't know a single soul in the Pacific Northwest, and her biggest fear was someone finding out. We provided her with the 2 medications that she needed. The first medication is typically taken in the clinic, and most people take the second one home with them. In her case, she took it to the hotel, and then she went home. About 2 weeks later, I saw her back in the clinic. It wasn't until I asked her about her blood pressure that she told me she had just driven from Mississippi. It turns out that's a 37-hour drive. I was shocked. I couldn't believe she did that alone. She was concerned about her heavy bleeding that was still going on at 2 weeks. And so not only did she do this extremely long drive alone, but she did it while she was experiencing bleeding. Luckily, this did not turn out to be an emergency situation, but in her mind it was, and she felt safe here. I was honored to be able to help this person, but the overarching feeling was sadness. How could this be that she wasn't able to get this care close to home, this procedure that is way more common than anyone realizes and is totally safe? How come she had to go through all this? Since Roe v. Wade was overturned, PPCW is playing an even more important role than ever before. I'm glad to be there for people who can get access to safe and legal abortion. Is it going to solve all the problems across the country? No, but we're doing our part, doing the most can do in our state.
Wow, I am so proud to work at PPCW. The impact of Roe versus Wade being overturned is so clear. Our patients need us more now than ever.
Those were some incredibly moving stories. As you know, just a few months ago, the Supreme Court made it possible for state legislators to take away the fundamental right to abortion. The impact was immediate, and it continues to create chaos and fear in communities across the country, especially in the South and Midwest. Alabama, Arkansas, Idaho, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, West Virginia. People in each of these states and more have lost the right to access abortion in their own communities. And another 24 states already have or are likely to restrict abortion access through a myriad of cruel legislation known as trap laws.
We've also been seeing attacks on other forms of health care, like gender-affirming care, birth control, and even comprehensive sex education. But we're not backing down. With heavy hearts for those states that are living with these basic freedoms being taken away, we're galvanizing ourselves for what's ahead for our work. I know all of you watching can agree that access to compassionate health care shouldn't depend on who you are, where you live, who you love, or what kind of job you have. And that's why we need to make a donation right now. Yes, I mean right now. Olivia, should we check in on our goal?
We absolutely should. PPCW has already raised more than $20,000 since the program has started.
It's amazing.
Amazing progress towards raising $100,000, which is our goal. Remember, text Fight Like Hell to 44321 for the link to donate, or click the donate button on the streaming site. Thank you to all the donors who have helped us smash past our first challenge, raising more than $20,000 in the last few minutes. Shouting out to these folks for their generous donations and pledges. Senator Kate Lieber and her wife Monique Masson with a $5,000 gift. PPCW President and CEO Ann Udall and her wife Tilly Clark with a $1,000 gift. Promoter sponsor Janet Hoffman with a $1,000 donation. Eleanor Warren and Greg Mazzardi with a generous $5,000 donation in honor of their 10-year-old daughter, Marion. PPCW board member Eddie Morales and husband Hugh Harris with a $2,500 gift. And champion sponsor Care Oregon with an incredible $5,000 donation.
And a big thank you to donors who gave during the last segment. There are so many of you. Apologies if we don't get to everybody. We are so grateful for each of you. Former PPCW board member Scott Nielsen and Ann Wall, the generous $1,500 gift. Kathy Jensen with a $1,000 donation. Sally Reese, thank you for your $1,000 gift. We have Grace Weil, thank you for your $500. Marlene Burns, thank you, $250 gift. Danielle Fisher, thank you, $500 gift. Thank you so much.
Thank you to everyone who is contributing during the program.
And just like that, we've surpassed our first challenge.
Easy.
I think they're ready for another one. What do you think?
I absolutely think that they're ready for another one.
All right, let's do this. So Sunday should have been the 50th anniversary of Roe versus Wade, 1973 decision that guaranteed abortion rights nationwide. So, in honor of the 50 years we should have been celebrating, I want to challenge this group to make donations of $50 or more in the next video segment.
$50 for what should have been 50 years of Roe. Let's do it, everyone. Click the donate button on the streaming page or text Fight Like Hell to 44321 for the link to donate.
And while everyone is donating, let's get back to the show. Even in states like Oregon and Washington, where abortion and comprehensive sex education are legal, people still face barriers to receiving high-quality, compassionate reproductive health care and education. So now it's time to hear from PPCW staff and supporters in Eastern Washington about how we're addressing structural barriers to care in rural communities.
Roe v. Wade has never been law for everyone across the country, especially in places where reproductive health care access is very, very scarce.
We've been living without Roe in rural Oregon forever. It's always been that way. You can say Oregon has like the most abortion protections, and that's only true in a few counties.
We talk about rural Oregon, there's not providers there. It's not just with abortion care, but with reproductive health care doctors.
My mom's joke is always, the only healthcare professional we've had for any length of time is our veterinarian, you know?
In Baker City, most of our healthcare services are provided by a team of family medicine doctors. They're working with our elderly population, with our teens, with our youth. They're delivering babies, and so they're working with the full spectrum of the family healthcare needs.
There are places across this country where primary care physicians having to give emergency C-sections to pregnant people who are in labor and are hours away from a hospital that can provide them with that kind of care. That's happening all over the country, even in states where abortion access is legal, like Oregon.
A lot of the energy and emphasis is now going to the idea of access, not choice, because choice is only if you have access.
This is a pivotal time, and it leads us to turn inward and look at our organization and see what is working well and where we still need to go. You know, who have we not served well in the past? How can we ensure that we're getting to people living in rural communities, people in Eastern Oregon and other parts of the state that haven't had access, and the needs are becoming even more significant and apparent in this moment.
We are now an 8-clinic Planned Parenthood, and Ontario and the patients we serve in Ontario are as equally as important as any of our other patients.
Ontario is a small little town on the border of Oregon and Idaho.
Ontario is a very resilient town, an agricultural area. You know, a lot of the work is in the fields, in the bodegas, or in the sheds. We're one of the poorest counties in the whole state, so we were used to doing, I think, without.
There's not a whole lot of reproductive family planning clinics that you can go to in Ontario. And if there is, you're booked out months. And then just from my own experience, it hasn't been the greatest. Like when you go in and say, hey, I want this kind of birth control, or hey, I want these testings, I always feel like I get judged.
I think that people have a lot of conservative values and have a different mindset on this side of the state. You know, to be an ally is not without risk. And I think that it's easy to sit on the sidelines and just kind of do what a politician would do. But I've never been that person. So when they discussed a potential Planned Parenthood coming to Ontario, I attended the city council meeting via Zoom. And then I heard some of the comments that were being made. And I really felt like they were painting a picture of women and families that was really negative and really divisive and could really cause harm. So I really saw no other choice but to say something.
It's one thing to be pro-life, but I believe that if you want to be pro-life and you want to make somebody have their baby, we need to be more than just say we're pro-life and actually invest in our youth, invest in our schools, more than just having a child born, to support that youth all the way through high school, through college, you know, through their whole adolescence. So that's why I stand on that.
We have a high rate of children in our foster care services. We have families that don't have livable wages they barely could even cover their cost of living, their food. I like to create a world where families have everything they need to be successful in life. That's the world that I wish we can create, rather than tell people what they can and can't do with their body.
You know, every time Planned Parenthood opens up a new health center, there's controversy. A lot of the controversy dissipates once we really get to know the community and the community gets to know us and understands what we are there for.
I used to work in Idaho, which was like 45 minutes away at a different Planned Parenthood. I was there for about 3 years, and then I found out about the clinic opening up in Ontario, and I was like, perfect, I want it. To be a part of bringing the Planned Parenthood clinic into the community that I grew up in, where patients could feel safe. My hopes is that when they go in, they have an amazing experience, and then they just keep wanting to come back to us.
There's a lot of people out there that are really happy to have what Planned Parenthood has to offer.
There is a lot of support in East Oregon. What that looks like and how that might be depicted might be different.
Living here takes like a certain skill set.
Because we're a small community, we sort of have to take charge of change.
Rural America can be a better model of how to talk about these things because we don't really have a choice. It's either don't talk about it or talk about it with somebody who probably doesn't think the way that you do.
It just needs to become part of our dialogue. We need to be talking about what does reproductive health mean for families.
When I talk to people, I always just say, like, this is complex. It's not okay for people to shut out on either side the tricky business.
When we start having those conversations with people that we trust, it becomes less scary, it becomes less taboo.
One thing that I try and do as like a rural person is represent that we're not a monolith. It's like women aren't a monolith. I mean, we're in it together, whether it feels like it or not.
As you just heard, Planned Parenthood is the only source of care for many people, making PPCW's health centers an irreplaceable component of the healthcare system in the Pacific Northwest.
And PPCW is also the largest provider of comprehensive sex education in Oregon and Southwest Washington, something that's definitely not guaranteed for millions of young people across the country.
As someone who grew up in Texas, I know that all too well. But I also know that accurate, inclusive sex education saves lives.
It does. PPCW's education programs are a vital part of the work that we do. Comprehensive sex ed helps to dismantle stigma, to empower young people and their families, and gives young people tools to make their own informed decisions about their bodies and their futures. It's just one of the ways that PPCW is leading the way forward and supporting the next generation of leaders in our community.
Now let's turn it over to a special group of supporters to hear all about PPCW's education programs and how they're making a powerful impact in the region. I grew up going to public schools. I started getting sex ed when I was in 6th grade. And some of that was, you're gonna bleed. Here, we're gonna give you deodorant and a pad. When I got to 8th grade, it was, you have a uterus and fallopian tubes, don't have sex. And then when I got to high school, it was, here are horribly scary facts about STDs and STIs, don't have sex.
Sex education goes beyond education on reproduction, pregnancy risks, and disease.
Comprehensive sex education has the power to really empower people.
Comprehensive sex ed tackles racialized, sexualized stereotypes that put people of color at greater risk. It debunks harmful gender stereotypes. It also empowers us to claim the right to our bodily autonomy. Sex education has never been universally accessible, not even in our states.
We moved here in 2015. There had been a break in having education in Central Oregon. I think the last time I had an educator here was in 2008. The local school districts were not providing comprehensive sexuality education. There weren't any peer sex ed programs. There weren't any programs in the colleges.
I never had any sex ed growing up like in India at all, and so teen council was my sex ed.
Teen Council is a program where high schoolers get to learn sex ed and then go to other high schools and teach in health classes what they've learned.
Council members are trained on a variety of sexual health topics, from things like sexual decision-making, boundaries, consent, to barrier methods, contraceptive methods.
A few weeks ago, we had a guest speaker talk to us about mastectomies and top surgeries and what that looks like.
I also learned a lot about just like sexual empowerment, which I feel like for like an immigrant woman of color was super important. After I graduated, I knew that I definitely still wanted to be involved with the sex education work. So I just started a podcast of my own with two of my former teen council members, where we would just talk about our personal experiences as well as like bring in our more like comprehensive medical knowledge from teen council. I'm working on a movement at NYU and also broadly New York to get abortion pills on campus. And then this summer, I intend to do a global fellowship and do some independent research in sex education as well. I wouldn't be where I am today without teen council, whether that be at a personal, academic, or career level. It was definitely a big thing for me and will always be.
We can only work as an organization that best serves the patients that our health centers are seeing if we are building a pipeline of leaders to take the baton to continue this work into the future and to build realities more beautiful than we ever thought we were able to do.
The future and the power that we have with this Gen Z generation, I see it in my own kids. I see it in so many of our powerful young leaders.
Gen Z is incredibly important to the abortion rights movement, to the reproductive healthcare movement, because we grew up in a time where we all share these very strong generational traumas.
So many things are happening. It's like, it feels like I'm living in a history textbook where like you have to highlight every bad thing, but the whole page is yellow. We're trying to stop everything from going all to hell. Can I say that?
It's not just about, the kids will save the world, the kids will fix all the problems. It's about the fact that this is an intergenerational fight. I'm very grateful getting to work with those movement leaders who have been in this fight a lot of times longer than a lot of us have even been alive.
We need you. The transformation, true transformation, will require each and every one of us to be engaged.
This is about young Oregonians, older Oregonians who understand what's at stake, coming together to solve our problems so people have what they need. That's my vision and my hope.
Contextualizing, I think, is our responsibility, right? Bringing the history from the past to that younger generation and bridging that gap between the older generations that think of Planned Parenthood as very narrowly focused.
We have lived in a scarcity mindset that has pitted all of our needs against each other to our own detriment.
It's been easier for people to pick and choose what they feel comfortable with. Maybe I've had to have the choice to have an abortion or not, or I know somebody that's had to have a choice to have an abortion or not, but I don't see what that has to do with race, or I don't see what that has to do with equal pay, But if we really are able to start to have these conversations and connect the dots, I think people can see that, you can't get rid of one oppression and keep other oppressions. It's never gonna work.
In the past, the abortion rights movement has been very exclusionary. For a very long time, the focal point of conversation was straight white women. I think that organizations like Planned Parenthood have done a really fantastic job at acknowledging both the racial and gender disparities in reproductive health care access, and acknowledging the fact that it's not just women that have abortions, and it's not just abortion that's a reproductive health care issue.
In order to provide health care to anybody that wants it, you have to look at intersectionality.
We cannot think about patients that Planned Parenthood Health Centers serve as simply just being able to get care. The barriers that exist between them being able to get to the stores in the first place are things that we should be intimately involved in facilitating the dismantling of. We might not be able to solve all the problems, but I think we should be cognizant of the ones that we might be able to influence in a better direction.
We're doing a lot of work to say to our supporters, we are going to be an inclusive, anti-racist organization, and come along with us on that journey. And what we're finding is that people want to be part of that work.
Solidarity is not just a word. It's about like you doing better, I get to do better, we all get to do better, and we do this together.
This is what we do. We have to show up, and we have to put voices where our values are.
Oh, I got goosebumps. How are you feeling, Olivia?
I feel like we've got a lot of work ahead of us. But the work isn't just about access to abortion. It's about ensuring we have control over our own bodies and our own lives for all our communities and for every generation. I know I'm ready.
I'm ready too. Should we check in on our fundraising goal?
We absolutely should. It looks like PPCW has already raised almost $40,000 during the program.
Yes.
Don't forget that thanks to visionary sponsors Samantha Richardson and Christine and David Veneer, all donations and pledges made today will be matched up to $100,000. That is literally doubling your impact.
Your donations keep PPCW's doors open and together. We can ensure that every single person can get the care they need when they need it, no matter what.
We want to thank some more donors who have given today. Thank you to Nancy Sellers for your $500 gift. Sana Andrews, thank you for your $500 donation. Rob and Julie Ball, thank you for your gift of $1,000 for PPCW. Samuel Metz, thank you for your generous $500 gift. Donors Mary Cluton, Deborah Schallert, Barbara Ryan, Lauren Christensen, Tatiana Deer-Wechter, Lisa Cannon. Thank you all for your donations of $50 in honor of Roe.
Beth Weber, thank you for your $25 gift. Corey Allen, thank you so much, $500. Pip Meager, thank you so much, $250. We have Patricia Campbell, thank you for your gift of $25. Chris Salt, thank you, $1,000.
Former PPCW staff Margot Martin, thank you for your gift of $100. Remember, these gifts are being doubled.
Carol Hibbs, thank you, $100. Luncheon committee member Kate Swindle, thank you so much for your gift of $50. We have former PPCW board chair Sita Samonte, thank you so much for your gift of $250.
Shevin Mural, $250. Susan Meyer Klinge, $1,000. Sarah Bell Hitchner, $1,000. Sanford Plant, $1,000. Jennifer Director Knudsen, $500. Andra Stoll-Carrick, $500. PPCW staff members Jessica Kiersmaker, $500. Megan Malinsky, $500. Kenji Nowaki, $250. Thank you so much.
Thanks to everyone who has donated for helping us get to that so much closer to that $100,000 goal. And our total goal of raising $475 from this year's virtual luncheon, I know we're gonna hit it. If you haven't already, click the donate button on the streaming page to make your gift, or text Fight Like Hell to 44321 for the link to donate. And if you want to donate with a check, you can. Just mail attention PPCW Development, 3727 Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, Oregon, Portland, 97212, and write Luncheon in the memo line. Now that we've got one last challenge. So if we can raise another $10,000, we'll unlock another $10,000 challenge gift from the incredible board member, Bradley Miller. Thank you, Bradley.
Thank you, Bradley. As you make your donations, we're going to hear directly from staff and fellow supporters from across the region about why they support PPCW.
The state of play is every day something new is happening somewhere in the country, and our patients are scared. They just want health care. And so our job at Planned Parenthood is just care no matter what, education no matter what. We're going to be here, we're going to help you, we're going to support you.
I've had several people in my family who don't have health insurance access who have been able to get the life-saving care they needed because of Planned Parenthood.
This is about real people's lives. And I get really choked up when I think about Planned Parenthood. They are in service to women and to people who can become pregnant in profound ways, and they could change the course of their life.
Our medical safety net for patients is not set up to handle the additional capacity that they would need to handle if Planned Parenthood wasn't here. We are part of that safety net.
And that can't just go away without some real consequences.
Support to Planned Parenthood Columbia Willamette ensures that people, no matter where they are, have the ability to get an appointment quickly, to be able to get the services that they need, and really be able to help us live our mission, which has become even more critical over the last few years.
I think human rights are being violated right now, and every time that I question whether I should or shouldn't do something, I have to say yes.
I was a young parent, and the Planned Parenthood in our small town, my daughter's mother went there to that's where she found out she was pregnant. So I think it was a great starting point for a couple teenagers. She could get an ultrasound there. She could have just information about what to do. We have a daughter together who's in her 20s, and that kicked off with Planned Parenthood being there to support at the start. And I'm in a position as a board member on a charitable trust to say, this is a great organization in the community that's doing good work, and I can support it in a meaningful financial way. It's just kind of a no-brainer for me.
I think we get lost in the many things that Planned Parenthood does for us because we have to defend these really big issues. It's easy to get Roe, but it's also it doesn't take away from the multitude of other support they provide to the community.
Planned Parenthood has been around my life for all of the years that I can remember. And in fact, my mom, who's 86, she went to Planned Parenthood. And it continues, it's just this constant. So to be able to go someplace that where you will be accepted for who you are, that's irreplaceable. It's invaluable.
It shouldn't be Supreme Court justices or politicians telling someone whether they should have a baby and when they should have a baby.
I get worried about certain things, but I think that if nobody speaks up, then what kind of example am I setting for even my daughter, and I want her to grow up to be powerful and to believe, and she could say what she feels and to speak up for others. That's what I really hope to set the model for.
We have the capacity, we have the wherewithal, we have the smart people. We just have to make a choice that we're gonna do the hard work.
If there's any silver lining to what's happening now, it's that patients do have a lot of support. We need that to be sustained. We need to figure out what to do 3, 4, 5 years from now, not just months after the Dobbs decision. We've been providing services, including abortion care, for decades. We need to be able to provide the care for decades going forward as well.
I grew up with my late mother, Arlene Schnitzer, being a very empowered, passionate woman about women's rights. And she, along with others of her generation, she'd be 93 right now, burst through a lot of ceilings. If she were here today, she'd be speaking on this video, not me. And she'd be the first one to march, stand, and to write a check.
I have visited Planned Parenthoods across the state over the years. They're there, they have great staff, they are embedded in the community. That's why I support them, because they are Oregon. They know what Oregonians need.
We can't do what we do without the help and support of the people who believe in us. Somebody said to me recently, hope is an act of resistance. And we have to stay in that place of hope. Time, we're gonna get there.
Today, you've heard from some incredible voices about what makes PPCW an essential part of our communities. For 60 years, we've been a place of care, compassion, information, healing, and health for tens of thousands of people across the Pacific Northwest. And in spite of political attacks and endless attempts to intimidate, frustrate, and weaken us, our resolve has only grown stronger thanks to you. The heart and soul of Planned Parenthood is the people, our staff, our volunteers, and our supporters. People like you who are empowering us and pushing us towards every bit of progress we make. We find the courage to speak out, the resilience to keep going, and the compassion to serve others.
I gotta say, being from the state of Texas, being born and raised there, it is so inspiring to come to a state like Oregon, where not only is reproductive health care so much more accessible, but the conversations are so much more hopeful. And to be in an environment like this, to be with PPCW supporters and employees and community members, it serves as a reminder to me that change is possible in states like Texas where you can't access those kinds of cares. And it reminds me a lot of where our movement is right now. Our movement is at a crossroads, and how we choose to commit ourselves over the weeks, months, and years ahead will define what Planned Parenthood means to the next generation in this region. We know that now is not the time to rest on our accomplishments. Roe v. Wade was seen as the end-all be-all for a lot of people for a long time, but the reality is even when Roe was law, there were still gaps in reproductive health care. And we need to remember that going forward, and need to remember that in the fight, that there is always more that is possible. We cannot rest, we have to keep working. So now is the time to prepare for the future most.
And now I'm inspired. You're so amazing. For too long, our issues have been dismissed by many as women's issues, as though that somehow makes them less worthy or secondary. Well, yes, these are women's issues. They're also trans issues. They're also family issues. The list goes on and on.
They're economic issues. They're racial justice issues. They're fundamental to our country and to our future.
So thank you for being there for every person in every state who has to miss work, drive hundreds of miles sometimes, endure cruel, medically unnecessary waiting periods, walk past angry protesters to exercise their right to safe and legal abortion. We are still here because of your investment in sexual and reproductive health care and education. Each of you plays a critical role in making it possible for us to serve a rapidly growing patient base that relies on our now 8 health centers for life-saving health care.
That possibility of being able to go somewhere with care is so important when you live in a state where it's not accessible. And I can tell you that as someone who, if I were to need an abortion, I would likely have to travel over 500 miles to get one from my home in Houston, Texas. So I'm just so grateful to have heard today from the staff, supporters, patients, community leaders, as well as Erica. But I have a question for you, which is, what are you going to do about it? PPCW has made a commitment to provide care to thousands of people, regardless of their ability to pay. And we need every one of you to help us make good on this commitment. Can we count on you to do that?
We need everyone watching this, whether you're watching live or you're watching it as a recording. We need you to stand with us. $10, $100, $1,000, $10,000, it all makes a difference.
One last update, we've raised a total of $45,000 today, making our goal a little bit closer to reach that point, to help ensure we unlock the full potential of the $1,000 matching gift from visionary sponsors Samantha Richardson and Christina David Vernier. Please keep donating. And also a thanks to board member Bradley Cooper for the $10,000 challenge gift.
Yeah, it looks like Samuel Metz, thank you, second $1,000 donation. Thank you so much. So huge thank you to our presenting sponsor, Jordan Schnitzer of the Harold and Arlie Schnitzer Care Foundation. We don't have time to thank all of our incredible sponsors that have helped make the luncheon possible, but we want to give a special thank you. Care Oregon, Eco Trust, Leighton and Eugene Borgen, and Sharon and Steve Brenner. Thank you to each and every one of our 14 protector sponsors and our 14 promoter sponsors and our 17 provider sponsors. Their commitment to PPCW and the luncheon helped raise more than $402,000, right? $169 toward our total luncheon goal.
Doesn't mean you can't donate more though, so keep those checkbooks open. Let's shout out a few more donors who have helped make an impact today. Diane and Kevin Smiley, thank you for your $500 donation. Tracy and John Wheeler, thank you for your $500 donation. Rebecca Frieden Wall for your $1,000 gift. Susan Hennessy, $250 gift. Elizabeth Showerman, $250 gift. Commissioner Sharon Myron, $500 gift. PPCW board members Catherine Bradley and her wife Lynn, $500. Betsy Riddell, $250. Sammy Wilhote, $1,000. Thank you for your donations.
Yes, thank you so much. We got Jessica Vega Peterson, $100. Leilani Ovalis, $50 in Roe. Sorry if I said your name wrong. Micah Stewart, $50 in honor of Roe. Thank you so much. Amy Starr Thomas, $1,000. PPCW staff, Chris and Lon Staub, $500. Elizabeth Robinson, $250. Matthew Fremston, $250. Peg Johnson, $50. Eleanor Van Buren, $100. Catherine Potter, thank you so much, $100. You guys are just pouring in the donations. Thank you so much. Nina Kavala, $100. William and Joyce.
Wow.
$100. Thank you so much. This is great. This is great.
Y'all, your presence and your continued generosity tell me that you are all ready to do what's needed to be done to meet this moment. The work of reproductive freedom and accessible care and education is just the beginning. Before we leave, we're going to make one final ask. Share this message with your friends, your family, your community. Invite folks to learn more about PPCW and what they're doing to expand access post-Roe, and make a gift to help them maintain their resilient and brave service to thousands of people they serve every year. You can share this website link to invite people to watch the event, which is being recorded and will remain accessible on this website for the next month. But we also need you to commit to being visible and vocal in your support for all of the healthcare and sex education PPCW provides, including abortion. Whenever you doubt whether speaking up or showing up is the right thing to do, remember the stories that you have heard today. As I've shared my story around the country, more often than not, other people's offer up theirs in response. Those are the conversations we should be having.
Yes.
The result is a bond stronger than that rhetoric of fear or bullying that too often happens and makes its way into political debate. So we need you to have those conversations and be vocal and be with us in this fight.
Today's virtual event has been an amazing celebration of our continued commitment to all of the communities we serve throughout Oregon and Southwest Washington. Thank you for being here with us today and standing with us in the future.
No matter what.
Bye, thank you.